All right. My name is Matt Stubenhofer. Fairly new to this group, but I'm going to talk about how I kind of took freeCodeCamp and worked it together with GitHub because we were learning GitHub and I needed to get used to it because the learning curve is so steep I was just tripping over myself. So again, my name is Matt Stubenhofer. It's German with a Kansas Hick accent. My portfolio is mattstub.com. You can find my GitHub right there. And the repo for what I did all my scripting in is also listed there. I graduated from Oklahoma State in 2010. I had a bachelor's degree in business management, but I usually tell people that I have a social engineering degree because I spent more time partying than I did going to class. So I was there for quite some time. I'm currently a project manager for a plumbing contractor. I work in the construction industry my whole life, so just trying to kind of get a change. So I started freeCodeCamp back in April. I have some HTML and CSS experience, so that stuff was real easy. The first section was real fast for me. And then about June, I didn't know what I wanted to do, started veering off and trying to pick up other languages, and I found freeCodeCamp Oklahoma City, and it's actually been a driving force for me to finish up. I think I've got 4 projects left to get the front end done. For anyone who's not familiar with freeCodeCamp, probably not people in this room, but maybe people watching, it's a great tool to learn online. It's what got me back in it. The first stuff is for me was real easy, short code, not a big reason to debug or anything like that. So learning inside the browser was perfect. You could take it anywhere. I actually think I learned a lot on my lunch break. So like I said, great for mobility. You don't really need to save anything. You can just take it with you and boot it up on your computer at work. There was also a lot of information at your fingertips. So when I got into the higher level stuff and I stumbled, I would find myself like, oh, I'll just click that link and follow somebody else's code. And so I felt like I was cheating myself. So part of me going out and doing a repo was keep yourself condensed. Don't look outside for other people's help. Try to figure it out yourself. And I'm a very visual learner. So the console, logging stuff at the console is really how I learned a lot of stuff. Like I said, when I got into the intermediate and advanced stuff, it would take a lot longer for me to learn it, so I wanted to save where I was. And working on it at lunch and then going home and not having it was kind of frustrating. So I kind of did some research, a lot of people who were actually doing this, but about that same time we started learning how to use GitHub, and I said, this is perfect. This is how I can learn GitHub, and I continue my freeCodeCamp. So it's an online repository. I think most people are probably familiar with it. It's very not maybe just this one, Bitbucket, GitLab, all those others. You're going to have to use it in your professional life, so might as well learn it now. When I first started, I was pushing to master constantly, and about that time I started contributing to the website, and I found out how frustrating it is when you push something to master and then you have to wait for somebody to merge all your pull requests. So that was what drove me to kind of test branches, and I have launched this repo at least 20 times because I would push something or merge something or delete something I didn't want to. So the best part about it for me was nobody else sees it. So if you mess it up, not a big deal. Just start it over again, or try to problem solve and figure out why you did what you did. So the other thing too is when you're working in the freeCodeCamp, like the browser IDE, I think it's really easy for new people to lose grasp of like working outside of that. I know it took me a while. The only other coding experience I had was some C++ in high school, and that was all command line based. So learning this new world of JavaScript was great, but trying to take the browser, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but trying to work in the browser who has a bunch of built-in stuff, and okay, I need to go build my own sandbox basically to play in. So for me, it was a great learning tool for me to branch out and do this. So the other part was, like I said, I started in April. I had no no trace of work on my heat map. Since then, I've started doing this, and it's all learning. It's not professional, but it's showing future employers that, hey, I don't have professional experience, but this is how devoted I am to learning what I need to learn to get done. So I'm not going to go into the specifics of creating repos because that'll take too much time, but basically created a repo, cloned it locally, and then I created a README file, which I used for my journal. So wrote my comments on what was going through my head, or maybe how I was going to structure my methods. I would create an HTML file just as a point of access, and then something to launch so I could use the console in the browser. Again, you can use the console log in the freeCodeCamp, but for me, it was just, there was so much going on in that window that it was hard for me to break free what I needed to see. Created my script file. I wrote all of my scripts in one large file. I don't remember how many lines of code it is at this point, but it's pretty cluttered. So, and then, like I said, I was pushing originally to master, but trying to teach myself better habits. You go through, create a branch, and then name it whatever is going to be easiest. That's kind of what mine was, FCC dash whatever the lesson title was. And then, get to work. Copy your lesson into your script file. Copy the test cases that the method's going to have to pass in order to work, and then just start on it. So here's a copy of kind of like my journal. Like I said, it's real rough. There's a lot of guys where I actually got the idea was people would take what they were learning in their methods and write technical blog posts. So this is where I stumbled upon this through Medium. Mine, we're not writing technical blog posts over that. It's just literally, here's the functions I used, here's what was going through my head. I've actually gone back a couple times and reread, like, how did I come up with that? So it's been great for me. It's very basic. You could take it a million places if you wanted to, though. So just for a real quick, like I said, that's all I would limit myself to, is I would just put the lesson instructions at the top so I could read what I had to pass, and then just went through my code. And then at the bottom, like I said, here's all my consoles, or here's all my test cases, here's what it should print to the console, and then lo and behold, when you get something that works, the console's on the bottom. Very basic, but great place for people to learn both places, I think. When I would get done, obviously, I'd post my little snippets to freeCodeCamp, take time to, again, jot down any of my thoughts, and then I would commit and push my changes on my repo. Don't get in the habit, like me, make sure you're pushing to a branch. You'll thank yourselves a lot later in life. As you can see, mine was a lot of pushing to master at first. So best practice is always working on a branch. The nice thing also, I think, with working on a branch is you're going to learn a rough about of what it takes to do a pull request. It's nothing formal, but you're going to see what other people have to see to merge your work in, so it gives you a better understanding of what's going on. And then just clean up your branch, start another one. So it's basic. It's what I did to help myself learn. If people find themselves struggling, I hope maybe this will help. But the other nice thing too is if you can take this, maybe implement some more UI UX experience into it, make it something that people actually want to click on, because who really wants to click on the Fibonacci sequence? I mean, me personally, I didn't. But if you could do that, you got to remember you're not only learning JavaScript, which you get focused on, you're trying to teach yourselves maybe some HTML you didn't know or CSS you didn't know. It's always good to pound on the fundamentals. So with that, if any of you guys are starting out, I know we're fixing to reboot the cycle, but if anybody's starting out or in that intermediate range, I challenge you guys to take the idea and run with it. I mean, do more than what I did with it. Make a blog post out of it. Make a career out of that part of it. So it's always a way to sell yourself to somebody if you're trying to get employed. So it's a good way to get yourself out there. Anybody got any questions? All right, thanks.